Welcome to a special damage control edition of Black Man Spy. I'm putting this one out in a hurry because, as you may have heard, Secretary of Defense Pete Hesgeth formed a working group, a small working group with the National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, the Vice President of the United States JD Vance, the National Director of Intelligence Tulsi, Mike Radcliffe, the Director of the CIA, and another group of people that totaled 18 in advance of a U.S. attack on Yemen against Houthi rebels that had been attacking shipping in the Red Sea. And they did a thing. They did a very interesting thing. So today, you might notice I'm not wearing my Ukrainian flag pin. I'm wearing my Association of Former Intelligence Officers flag pin. And I am drinking my double espresso, which is about my 30th today, in my National Security Agency vintage 1980s cup, because we are going to talk about what could arguably be the greatest national security breach in American history. Wow, that sounds like hyperbole, Malcolm. How is that even possible? What with Aldrich Ames and the Walker spy ring and all of those things? Well, believe it or not, Aldrich Ames compromised the CIA and CIA's human intelligence assets, but did not endanger the entire national security of the United States. Same thing with the Walker spy ring. They endangered cryptographic systems at that time, which were constantly in flux for our secure communications, gave, some low-level intelligence, but they did not compromise the entire national security of the United States at the level we refer to in the world that I come from, the crown jewels. Let me define some things for you. What is crown jewels intelligence? Crown jewels intelligence is intelligence at the absolute tippy-top decision-making levers of government. Vladimir Putin and all of his senior staff having discussions together, or the senior staff's internal deliberations, which are operating at their top secret level, are considered crown jewels intelligence. Also, intelligence related to the security of their communication system. That's a crown jewels intelligence. And here's something that we should all know. The United States has spent 100 plus years trying to draft systems together and get electronic systems in the modern age in such a way that you cannot actually break into them. And we have formed these systems, these beautiful, incredible security systems, which are operated and developed by the National Security Agency and the Central Security Service, so that American military communications and the communications of the National Command Authority, that's the president and his senior staff, so that they can deliberate as easily as possible in such a way that their systems cannot be broken into by a hostile intelligence power. Now, when I say hostile intelligence power today, I'm talking about the Chinese and their National Security Service, the Russians and their State Security Bureau, the FSB, and its subordinate version of the National Security Agency, the Communications Security and Information Service, the Russian military intelligence, the GRU, which operates independently of the FSB, oftentimes when they are hacking and trying to break into other systems, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, and literally any other foreign powers intelligence agency that is not the United States in some way, shape, or form would really like to know what's going on in the internal deliberations of the United States government without asking us. So today's damage control is going to come from a different perspective, because if you're watching the news, you're seeing it from every other perspective other than mine. And my perspective, without divulging any secrets and speaking merely in hypotheticals, is going to be the perspective of what I did most of my career. And that was a communications intelligence or signals intelligence intercept operator. What's an intercept operator? Do you guys answer the phone? No, just the opposite. We are that unknown third person on your conversation that is now writing down or recording every word you say. And the way that we get there and be an unknown third person is we carry out intercepts of hostile communications or foreign communications or any type of system, whether it's a heliograph or, wigwag signal flags or the most advanced electronic communication systems in the world that are encrypted by computers. The National Security Agency is responsible for protecting our systems against enemies who want to intercept our communications and carrying out offensive collection in which we get information from our enemies. That's as close as we're going to go to anything, and that's a very unclassified, pretty much unclassified version of anything you can get. You can read it on the internet. We're not going to go much further than that. Today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to educate you, the viewer, in how what I call the greatest national security breach in American history has been carried out. And you may say, that's hyperbole. I mean, all these guys did was carry out a private group chat on their mobile phones using the Signal app. And the Signal app does end-to-end encryption. And by doing end-to-end encryption, their communications can't be broken and their chats can't be read in relatively decent real time so that they can be exploited. Waha! This is where you're wrong. Only 1 week before this cluster happened, we found out that the Pentagon, that's right, Pete Hesgeth's Pentagon, with the advisory of the Communication Security Service, put out a warning that they believed that the Signal app that Secretary Pete Hesgeth and all of the principals of his Yemen working group were using had exploits in it and was considered to be compromised. Yes, it does end-to-end encryption. Yes, it is very difficult to break end-to-end encryption, but as something that I learned as a baby collector is that you don't have to go to the break the encryption if you've got a dumbass whose phone you can read over his shoulder, or you can get into the phone using other systems in which you mirror the communications as he's sitting there sending dirty messages to his boo-boo or sits and watches OnlyFans videos. There are a myriad of ways. I'm not going to go into them. Hundreds of other experts are going to be opining about that. But I can tell you, as the guy that wore the headphones, the guy that exploited everything that you said, and as the United States does it, we either consume that intelligence and use it for information purposes, or we kill you with it. Because we're good at killing using information that we get from our enemies. Because our enemies tell us everything. And if there's any one thing that I can say about our opponents, the Chinese, right, National Security Service, the Russian military and clandestine communications intercept service of Russia, the Iranians, the Venezuelans, a kid with a goddamn scanner who could be standing out near the White House, what you find out is all of these systems that they carry make a signature. And in fact, there was a debate recently about things that were going on in the Oval Office, and that the Oval Office is actually a shielded room. They use electronic defensive systems. The room itself is likely shielded with copper and other materials. The windows glazed in such a way is that no signals emanate from the room. Could you hand me that telephone there, please? My assistant? Well, to the right. Thank you. What you call a telephone, I call the lucky jackpot of idiots that are going to give me everything they ever thought they could hide. Listen, there are people like me all over the world. If you want to see a rudimentary version of what we do without me saying anything, go watch the movie Midway, where you can see Old Navy Morse code operators collecting Japanese intelligence while the people at Kuniya Tunnel were breaking them, and we managed to intercept and figure out where the Japanese were. Or you could watch that classic, The Conversation, in which the Gene Hackman plays a classic, old school NSA style private contractor intercept operator who gets the telephone communications and private conversations on the street of a young couple, and it turns into a conspiracy, right? A conspiracy. Or that same guy later on in life as an old retired NSA operator who is in the movie Enemy of the State with Will Smith. And let me tell you something. That guy Gene Hackman plays in that movie, those guys are real. I mean, I don't know who their consultant was, but it was one of those old school guys who understand that you got to build a Faraday cage around to stop the signals from emanating, or the baddie guys can get you. Or in this fanciful world there, they intercepted everything. Telephones, radios, cell phones, use visual intelligence, satellite-based intelligence. If the only thing that was missing in the modern world was the drones, right? So people like this exist. And our opponents have boatloads of these people. Boatloads of these people, because hostile governments that don't care about your civil rights will dedicate enormous resources to getting information out of you. That being said, what I'm going to do is explain to you how a hostile government would target this national security working group, and it wouldn't even need the phone numbers of every individual, because this device, which I call a intelligence jackpot double bonanza jubilee special, will give me everything I need. All I need is one thing, and one thing every intercept operator knows: access. And once I have access, whether that's your password, whether that's looking over your shoulder, whether that's this thing emanating a signal, which could be intercepted, and just extrapolating where it is, what it's doing, and who it's communicating to, I can build your entire universe around you, and I can tell you everything you don't want me to know, right? So, as we all know, this little transmitter, which Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says causes brain cancer, this device that you see here is what we pray for at night, is that you misuse this device. So now, a little lesson in cryptologic history. I was on a Twitter Spaces the other night, and people kept saying, why do you keep giving us these examples of history? Well, because not all of this is new. Look, when Marconi invented the wireless, the intercept operator already existed. The phrase wiretaps actually came from the Civil War, when intercept operators would climb up a pole between two telegraph cables and put a tap on it and sit there with the key and watch it bounce off while these two people communicated, and he'd write down everything they sent, right? That's where a tap came from. All of these things, intercepting radio waves, is where intercept came from. So the point being, and not to mention in the old days, when you had a hand-encoded thing and you put it in the leg, in the stocking of a prostitute, and the guards from Elizabethan England would stop you, take it out of your garter, break that code, put it back into your garter, pay you in gold. That too was an intercept. The point being that once that information is acquired, or the methodology of sending is acquired by a hostile intelligence agency, it's pretty damn easy to figure out who you are, where you are, what you're doing, who you're communicating with. And once you start communicating with those people, we will check the frequency of your communications, the date and time of day that you're communicating. So if it's Saturday night at 02:30 and you're not calling your wife, and you're certainly not calling the Yemen working group, I'm going to assume you're calling for a booty call. And guess what? That is a thing, because we have found people out there have patterns of communication that they don't want their spouse or other partners to know about. And we always know when you're calling your wife, right? Just after you leave for work. Then just once a time during the day to see what's going on or what the kids are doing. At the end of the business day as you're going home to work and you're finding out what's for dinner. And then your communications with that person stops because you are now with that person and in theory, you're face to face. I mean, if you've got a house as big as mine, you got to call downstairs sometimes or send text messages. But I can tell a lot about your communications pattern just from when your phone turns on, just from when your phone turns off. When do you actually turn your phone off or do you let it emanate day and night? Do you text at 0300? Do you text at 0500 to someone who is not part of the United States government? You are now telling, it could be your bookie, could be your crack dealer. I don't know, but I'm going to find out because at some point you are going to become very interesting to me. Unfortunately, for the people in the United States government, you start off as a target based on the level of your proximity to leadership for foreign intelligence agencies. Trust me, nobody before December was targeting Pete Hesgeth for his Fox News drunk ramblings on television because he was a mid-level major in the National Guard. Nobody. He was not a target. You could go on television and watch him. Open source intelligence if you wanted to know what Pete Hesgeth was thinking. Or the Sean Ryan show or some other show full of conspiracy theories. But the minute that someone got wind in Moscow, Beijing, Tehran, or Caracas, Venezuela, that Pete Hesgeth was going to be the what? Secretary of Defense? Whoa! A special high-value target task group themselves by every one of those countries will form because the cabinet is forming. And they will already have collection managers, senior decision makers looking at the American national security tree, and they will decide who is going to get targeted. I'm going to solve that problem for you. Everyone is going to get targeted. Not only you, your secretary, your driver, your wife, your homies, your boo-boo, whatever you got out there, any freaking number that's on your cell phone is getting targeted, and you are going into the great Chinese, Russian, Iranian, Venezuelan, Dutch vacuum cleaner in the sky, and they will now bring that collection down to a team that is dedicated to you because they are going to evaluate some things. They're going to evaluate whether you're an idiot. And that is a technical phrase in signals intelligence. Because, history lesson here, way back in the oldie days of World War II, Hitler used a collection system that was a much higher level of encryption than the Enigma machine that you are all familiar with. Everybody knows the Enigma machine was used for command and control communications between German high command, German commanders, German submarines, German field officers, and they went through special communications hubs, and they had to use these little rotors, and it gave them like millions and millions and millions of permutations to tell you to encrypt the message, and then it would come out decrypted at the other end based on your communication settings for that day, right? Right. Malcolm, how did those guys over at Bletchley Park, of which I am a life member, friends of Bletchley Park, how did they know to get holes in that to exploit it? Well, the Enigma machine, when you consider it, was relatively easy. For all the difficulty that it took in the 15 years of Polish, French, British, and American cryptographers to break into that thing. If you want to know all about this, go watch the movie Imitation Game, right? You can see Alan Turing was not just a German linguist. He was a cryptologist and mathematician that spoke German, all of which would come together in important ways. So, the thing that really gave them intelligence was the stupidity of the guy operating the cryptographic system. And when I say stupid, I mean laziness, slovenliness, forgetfulness, and all the other nisses that make up the 7 deadly sins, because sometimes they would leave the rotor settings that would create that day's encryption on the previous days that Bletchley Park had already worked and pretty much had an idea of what was going on. So if you're already working for about 5 or 10 minutes sending that day's traffic using yesterday's codes, they're in. And when you change it, go, oh, shoot, I forgot this isn't yesterday's codes. There were rotor settings, this is yesterday's. And you set that, you have now given them the same data because you're going to transmit the same data over again with different settings. Now the camel's nose is under the tent, as the metaphor goes. Same thing with this. Here's the first way that if I wanted to break into the cell phone of Donald Trump or Pete Hesgeth or Joseph Blow, whoever you want to call out there, I'm not going to break the end-to-end encryption. I'm going to either visually observe or put a system in there that goes through a simple means that shows me your password. Or I'm going to watch your hand signals. There are human intelligence officers who do that. There are cameras everywhere. There are nosy reporters who will lean over your shoulder and watch you do this. There are video cameras that will watch you do this. Your eye, your optics, to allow that. There are cameras out there of enough high definition that you could, in theory, I'm not an expert, you'll have to talk to Wired Magazine, and the people that I do know who know, they're not going to talk about it, where you could open your password using someone's an image or a 3D map of someone's eye that they took from a photograph with a very high definition or high powered camera. That's the easy way, right? You guys wanted me to use freaking super secret NSA computer cracking power, right? No, I'm just going to watch you be a dumbass, all right? And give it to me. It's like your PIN at the ATM. Now I'm in. Now I'm going to attempt to get into your phone either through hook or by crook, whether using telecommunications methods through the cellular network and downloading something in there surreptitiously that allows me. The second easiest way is to either mirror your phone, which means that I am now going to copy what's there, and so that when you use it, a copy of your phone in a computer comes up and I watch everything that you do when you're ordering up your OnlyFans or your Uber Eats. It's there. And I will also see you enter your password. And that's why you have that password option of just having the black dots. Yeah, you can use the black dots unless you are doing that password on a soft keyboard. So, again, there are way smarter people than I am, right? I'm just the operator. I'm the guy that is going to come out into Arabic or English or whatever it is. These guys are the guys who really know how to hack, crack, and freak, as the old saying was back when I was a baby guy. And they're the ones at all these intelligence agencies that know every trick in the book. And they're not just hackers. They're not just white hat hackers or black hat hackers. These are intelligence professionals who have insanely smart mathematicians and unlimited computer power. That makes AI look stupid because generally agencies like this, the Iranians, the Chinese, the Russians, they try to stay years ahead of what's out there in terms of intercept and hacking technology. So Malcolm, you're telling me all this, but you're still not explaining how this is the greatest computer, how this is the greatest compromise and possible breach in American history. Okay, I'm going to do this shortly because we're going long on this. So this is a chart that I developed called How to Make Us Stupid. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to explain this chart to you. In the middle of this chart is my target. Way back in the oldie days, we really did have to use the vacuum cleaner method to scan the sky to get electronic signals and find whatever it is that we want. In the mobile phone world, it became much more difficult. Everyone had a phone. Every individual had a phone. And the best way to get that information from your target you want is go after the target. In this case, a guy who was a Fox News host who used to drink a lot. So he is now Secretary of Defense. That Secretary of Defense is not using the secure cryptographic systems that are on his desk, which he talks to his combatant commanders with. He is not talking on the red phones that he could call the White House with. He is talking on a mobile phone, which could have been issued to him by the government, which may not have cryptographic security systems, but more than likely, it was his private phone. Based on what we're seeing, it likely was his private phone. Because who wants to change their number, right? You got to sit there, you got to go through all those text messages, tell everybody who this, right? New phone, who that. So once we know your number, and we're going to know your number because you're Secretary of Defense now. And I'm going to exert every resource in my government to find your phone. And you know how we're going to get your phone number? I'm going to tell you how we're going to get your phone number. We're going to go find the freaking producers over at Fox News, and we're going to ask somebody, or somebody's going to tell us, or somebody who was a friend of a friend who got invited has your number in their phone, like your homies, your wife, or your boo-boo. And I'm not saying he has one, I'm just saying this is an example, right? All of these people are not the Secretary of Defense, and they do not have secure phones. So if I want Pete Hesgeth's number, I'm going to go to somebody who's on the periphery, who has Pete Hesgeth's number, right? And I'm going to watch all of their communications and watch their interactions with you. Take their phone schedules, their phone logs, and find out all the intersecting relationships between you and them. Then I have a way in, because you can spoof them. That means pretend to be those people. You can infect their phones to infect your phone. And now, because you're carrying this signals intelligence bonanza on your person at all times, and it's not secure, and you're not in a sensitive compartmented information facility where you're supposed to leave your phone out there, you're Secretary of Defense, you get into your armored Suburban, this thing is on you, could be collecting, could be transmitting, or if it's not transmitting, could be scheduled to transmit at a later date and time. Could be some form of burst communications. Could be in an app out there that when you open it, right, like, some app out there like Signal, it automatically communicates with whoever has installed it and is passing information on. It could be a giant microphone to China. And wherever you carry it. See this blue circle? That is your top secret security environment. But your phone is in it, which is why we leave them outside of the skiff. We don't want top secrets that are being discussed to be transmitted into the phone. We want you to be a traitor and actually pick up your phone and call the enemy so we can intercept you because we're better than this and then send you to prison. I'm looking at you, Edward Snowden, and all the rest of you guys who were out there stealing secrets and ran off. So your communications are now within the top secret work environment. Your non-top secret homies, girlfriends, wives are now inside there. And if I can quote the movie Dr. Strangelove, I told you to never call me in here, right? This is where the big board is, right? Don't call. And to tell you the truth, the landline in the movie Dr. Strangelove was 1,000 times more secure than this. Now, Malcolm, what are all those orange boxes up there? Oh, those are the hostile government entities that those blue lines are them targeting you. And they don't just target you, they're going to target everybody around you. You are a bubble of targeteering. And they will, because you are Secretary of Defense, who is a former Fox News host that was known to drink, they will use every method of intelligence access on your ass. Everyone, including sending women in front of you, sending you bottles of alcohol and drinks, stroking your ego. In summary, in my world, when we get access or have the opportunity to access every one of these individuals' own top secret working environment, and we can now hear, intercept, monitor, figure out what these people are doing. This isn't the nose of the camel under the tent. This is the camel stampeding the tent. The camel owns your tent and it's eating hors d'oeuvres and you're the snack. Every time you send a text to your boo-boo, they know about it. Send a nudie to your homies, they know about it. Lie to your wife, they know about it. Talk bad about the Commerce Secretary with the Director of National Intelligence, who should know better because they're responsible for top secret information in 19 agencies. These guys know about it. In summary, if this occurred to anyone in the United States government other than these morons, they would be fired and prosecuted. Donald Trump has already waved his magic wand of stupid and has absolved all of them. Tulsi Gabbard spent the whole day lying, saying nothing top secret was discussed there. Really? The aircraft, the bombs, the targets, the strike package, the name of the person you're going to kill. Pretty damn sure that that's code word material that shouldn't be on Signal. Now, as a salty old senior chief cryptologist, here's what I really feel, because I don't think that I've expressed my anger enough here today. I would express it this way if I was standing there. Hold on, let me get into position, because this is important that you understand precisely how I would be. I would be standing there with my NSA coffee mug, having a sip, and somebody would say, "Hey, Senior Chief, did you hear that there was a top secret working group with the Secretary of Defense and everybody else on Signal?" And I would, one, try not to spill my coffee, and two, the first words out of my mouth would be, "Are you effing kidding me? Are you kidding me? Why do these morons need to feel the need to make me the Samuel L. Jackson of cryptology? No one should be doing war plans this way. Use the secure NSA-approved cryptographic systems that are sitting on your GD desk. Make a Russian-Chinese intercept operator cry. Because guess what? They're all getting medals right now. I said yesterday on a forum, if you want to gouge how much intelligence Russia has gotten from us, don't intercept their communications. They're secure. Start monitoring all the champagne and caviar stores in Moscow, because they're buying them all up. And that would be an easier target to monitor, right? And the deliveries are all happening to GRU and FSB and SVR headquarters. In China, they're probably giving them Teslas because they're crappy cars. But these guys are laughing their asses off at us. And if they weren't in our phones and were trying to get to these phones in Signal, they now have their own working groups going backwards and scrubbing the giant servers to see if they had access to your phone and can get something of historic value and nature out of it. Well, boys and girls, I'm glad we had this talk. But on the other hand, every one of these idiots needs to be fired. And you and I both know that's not going to happen. Because Donald Trump, no matter the fact that every word in his administration is likely in the hands of these intelligence agencies, and they are working us day and night, and they're ready to see your phone number change, and you're going to send that to your boo-boo, and they're going to be back in. We are purely screwed here. And the axis of incompetence of these idiots, they don't care whether they've damaged the national security of the United States. They're masters of the universe. And they don't have to deal with people like me. Because if I was in the senior enlisted near Secretary Hesgeth in the Pentagon, and I saw this, and I'd go, "What are you doing, Major?" And he was like, "I'm talking about boo-boo on Signal." In the skiff, in his office, I'd grab his phone, run down the hallway, open the burn bag chute, which leads to a furnace, and I would throw it the hell in, and then go to the president myself and say, "He's an idiot. Your security of your nation has just been compromised. What are you going to do? Kick me out of the Navy?" Well, that's what should have happened in the fantasy baseball world of common decency and people that actually cared about the United States. But these guys, masters of the universe, they don't give a flying fig. You'll see me next time when I got something else to shout about on Black Man Spy.